It is all about how we get to show up and recognize our valued team members. And I think it is something where it is a conversation we often dodge. We are a little afraid to bring it up, or maybe not sure how to do it. Perhaps our companies or agencies have things in place where some kind of bonus structure is in place. We're going to talk about recognition from a variety of standpoints today, but what I want to make perfectly clear is that whenever we get recognized for a job well done, we get excited. We enjoy it. It is a celebration of being recognized and valued by the people who work closely with us, that we get something, whatever that might be. Whatever that something is to be determined, okay? But that simple acknowledgement and recognition of saying, you did a great job, and I'm going to take a moment out to recognize that and let you know I value you, I care about you, I appreciate you. That's what makes the recognition so powerful, okay? So for people who are recognizing us, we want to understand that it is coming from a good place and an intention, all right? In that, it is about letting the person be noticed and recognized, and in some way it serves as a motivation. I had sent out an email earlier this week, and if you're part of my email community, hopefully you had a chance to see it. But I shared a story about the first time I ever got a bonus, and I had referenced that it wasn't a large bonus. And I felt important to kind of throw that out there because it wasn't about the magnitude of the bonus. It was more about the intention. It was one of the first jobs I ever had. It was a job where I worked as a church organist at a parish in Maryland. And as a Christmas bonus, I got a $75 gift from the parish as a thank you for all of my hard work for the year with the choir. And that meant so much to me. I felt so good about it. It definitely made me want to work harder. But I felt appreciated and validated. Now, there's been other times throughout my career where I've been given a quote unquote bonus. And I want to be perfectly clear. There have been times when I haven't, and I've been really frustrated by that because I thought, well, geez, I'm busting my tail and doing everything I can, and you're not appreciative of it, you know? So here's where we need to set some ground rules about bonuses and recognition, okay? So the first thing is that if you are recognizing team members, we want to make sure that everybody is clear about how we're going to play in that space. In other words, what are the ground rules for being recognized to get some kind of bonus, if you will. So first rule, number one rule is that everyone is eligible. Everyone has to be eligible in order to make the bonus meaningful, okay? With that, if you are in a management role where you have people that you have an opportunity to recognize, it is your responsibility to communicate what the ground rules are for being recognized. You may have a company initiative. Last company I worked for, they had very clearly stated guidelines for what monetary bonuses look like. So we kind of knew the space we were playing in that regard, but you get to set the ground rules for that. It is your responsibility, okay? The other thing is, it is also your responsibility to have the conversation with your team members about ways in which they would like to be recognized, okay? So let's say, for example, you are on a team and the team really, really likes celebrating everybody's birthday. And so they go through things where they decorate the cube and there's balloons and streamers and banners, and they come by and they sing happy birthday, and you hate that. That's like the worst. You don't like the public attention. Maybe you don't celebrate birthdays, whatever that is, but it makes you cringe. Like the point where you literally want to like run out of the building or run to the bathroom just to simply avoid that whole experience altogether. Okay. And if stuff like this is coming up for anybody that's on today, like give me a sign in the chat. Like I've had that experience, or yes, or I totally understand, whatever that might be. But as people in a management role, you have to know how the other person likes to be recognized. Okay. Because the last thing we want to do, if the recognition is truly a celebration, is to make that person feel uncomfortable. Because then the motivation there goes. It's gone. Because we've talked previously that staff managers need to build trust in communication. So here's another way that staff managers get to build trust. And that's by having that conversation and saying, when you do a really good job, when you do work that is above and beyond and is recognized, and I want to acknowledge that, how do you want me to do that? What are some ways you like doing that? And your answer is always a brand new car. No, you're not going to get a car because this isn't Oprah. So you want to be able to say, look, these are some of the things I actually like. That's where you get to show up and have the conversation with your staff manager about what it is, or like what methods you actually like to be recognized with, okay? The recognitions have to be timely. It doesn't do any good to recognize somebody 6 months after the fact. It's actually pointless. The window is gone. Recognition is very similar to giving feedback, because if the feedback isn't timely, it's not powerful. If the recognition isn't timely, it isn't powerful. So we have to be able to make sure that we do it in the moment. So it makes that kind of connection. All right. The other thing we want to be really, really careful of is managerial favoritism. Now, we define managerial favoritism as people who recognize people on the team where, let's say, the conditions or the ground rules for being recognized haven't been met. Or it comes across as being like, well, they're the favorite. Or, of course, they would get the bonus because they're always hanging out with so-and-so, whatever that might be. You want to be careful of that. There's a lot of research out there as to why things like employee of the month or employee of the year, and Alyssa, who's a teacher, I'm going to call you out for a second here, but like it's why districts that do like teacher of the year, they're not really effective, because it is more about a favoritism as opposed to a celebration and having that kind of buy-in. So we want to be really, really careful about that. We want to make sure when we set those ground rules for recognizing people on our team that it is very, very clear how we're playing in that space. So given all of that, all right, I'm wondering if anybody that's in the chat right now could type in and share a way in which they have been recognized that was particularly meaningful, okay? So in other words, something a colleague did for you or a supervisor did for you that you really appreciated because it had meaning and relevance and it was important. I will tell you that when I had staff, I would have that kind of conversation, and it's important to get to know what they like and what they don't, right? You never want to give somebody a Starbucks gift card if they hate coffee and tea. You know, it's just not a good thing. Hey, John, also choosing one teacher of the year among many seems to simply imply everyone who wasn't chosen wasn't as valued. Yeah, absolutely. So true. And Javier, a nicely written thank you card. That's actually number one. It's one of the simplest gestures we can do is to write somebody a thank you note. Don't email them. Email is impersonal and it's commonplace and it doesn't have the same effect. When you give someone a handwritten thank you note, I've actually got a couple here today that I need to write to some people who've gone above and beyond for me. But like when you actually write that handwritten thank you note, it says that you took the time. It's a way of saying, look, I'm going to really take some time to write this out because I so appreciate what it is that you've done. So I've got 2 thank you cards I need to send out after this Facebook Live, right? So that's one. Another thing, and this happened actually when I was teaching, is at the district I work in, we had these things called success cards. And these were these like little cardstock cards where you would call out a student for doing something really, really great. So what I would do is at the end of the quarter, if someone had gotten an A or they did a really, really great job on a project, I would write them the success card. The reason I'm telling you the story is this. In my last job where I worked, I had gone to another floor to grab some coffee. And as I was walking out, I held the door for a couple of ladies who walked in. I went back to my office, thought nothing of it. About 5 minutes later, I get an email, and the email says something like this. Dear Mr. Nerrell, I'm not sure if you remember me, but my name is Sarah, and you taught me mathematics in 6th grade at Valley Middle School in Oakland, New Jersey. Did I just see you on the 3rd floor of our building? And if so, what are you doing here? So I got on our instant message. I messaged her. I said, Sarah, come on up to my office. And here we were in a completely different job, working for the same company, but in 2 different organizations. And it was actually one of my like most happy moments in the workplace was that I got to work not directly, but with a former student who was just a rock star in the classroom, and she's a rock star in the workplace. She's an amazing organizational psychologist, totally think the world of her. And a few weeks later, she had shared our interaction with her folks. And she emailed me and she said, I thought you might like to see this. And in the email attached was a scan of the success card I gave her when she was in 6th grade. So that little effort about writing that success card stuck for her. That was a motivator. That was something that she valued and was important. And so that's where when we step up and show up to recognize people, we never really know how much of a connection or importance that's going to be. But that's why we do it, and that's how we show up. Alyssa, yeah, a teacher on my 2nd grade team went to our principal and told her how much she loved working with me and that I was such a wonderful person to work with. Yeah, right? Like that little opportunity there to go and share with a supervisor some great stuff that someone else is doing can be really, really powerful. Alyssa, there is no doubt you are an awesome teacher, but that is a great, great story. Thank you for sharing that, right? So handwritten notes are great. Some companies do things where they will have some kind of object that they share amongst the team. I've heard stories of like a stick or some kind of like stuffed animal. I've read about companies using trolls. There's like a teddy bear or a trophy, and then that goes from cube to cube or office to office, given what someone has done. And usually the protocol with that is the team lead will start off with that, or the manager will start off and award that object to somebody. And then the next time they come to a meeting, that person has to recognize somebody else. So they get to pay it forward in recognizing people on their team, okay? Knowing what people like can be a really nice way to incentivize or recognize with it. It might mean like a coffee or a treat, like a cupcake or a donut, or simply taking them out to lunch. We had a facilities manager at my last job where, one time I just, got him a Starbucks gift card because I know he likes Starbucks, with a handwritten note in there that said, thank you so much for taking care of the team. And he valued that. That was something different and something a little bit unfamiliar. Companies may offer monetary bonuses, either in the moment or end of the year bonuses and whatever they are. And those are completely, they're tied into some kind of like big financial gain. Those are important. If you work in a profession where you are commission based or there's a performance bonus based, depending upon how much money you bring into the company, those are big things, because meeting your bonus is definitely a way to incentivize and motivate you to reach that goal. But it is also about recognizing your efforts, and whether or not you make 100% of that or 95%, or maybe it's 80 or 70%, it is about kind of meeting that goal and recognizing it. Take opportunities to reward the team. Okay, so hosting a lunch, an ice cream social, or simply just like taking people out for a group coffee, or personally, I'm a little leery of happy hours, though I know they kind of do those kind of things. But I think happy hours in moderation and controls, if your company enjoy those kind of things, are certainly can be beneficial. But then also having an opportunity like to do a certificate, or look, I just vogued. I cracked myself up, sorry. But like, having a certificate or something that people might hang in their cube, or they might, hang in their space to simply say, hey, I got recognized for this, okay? So kind of curious about some thoughts. What are people thinking about those kind of things? Yeah, John, simply being told a good job can often go a far way, especially if it comes from a supervisor who generally is fairly limited in expressing or providing feedback. John, I'm going to talk about that for a little bit, right? Because earlier we've talked about how it's so important for managers and leaders to have an opportunity to build trust and to build that. And so as long as we understand that that feedback is coming from a genuine place, and especially if someone is not overly expressive in terms of showing their appreciation or recognition, that absolutely can be a pretty powerful thing. Okay. Absolutely. And Billy, yeah, team goals, right? We all meet a team goal. We kind of succeed together. It's that notion about, we all win or we don't get to play, we all win or we don't get to play. Kind of a thing, because we get to thrive and survive and succeed completely as a team. The last thing I want to share with you about showing up and recognizing is that it also works in reverse. So oftentimes we talk about recognizing people on our team or having our leadership recognize us, but there are opportunities where we get to recognize our leadership in the same case when it's warranted and deserved, when it is above and beyond. And in my conversations with people who have held leadership positions throughout my career, it is sometimes one of the things that is most often overlooked. They like to get thank yous too. They like to hear the attaboy, the attagal, the kudos, the cheers, the compliments, the applause, just as much as everybody else. And while they're in a leadership role where they are hopefully intrinsically looking out for the best for their team, they also like to hear it too. And one of the most powerful things you can say in the moment is thank you, because. That whatever you put after the because is so powerful, because you can pass somebody in the hallway and be like, hey, thanks for what you're doing. Doesn't have the same effect. If you stop and hold the space to simply say, I want to thank you because I really appreciated how you sent that email, recognizing that morale was low and we needed to address it. Or thank you because you really make it a point to individually go up to people and say thank you, and I want to make sure you get told thanks as well. Those are things that can help us show up as we recognize our leadership when the moment is right. So just to kind of sum up, We talk about recognition being a celebration, and a celebration when the opportunity presents itself or when people do exemplary work or go above and beyond. We need to make sure we have really clear goals and clear expectations about when people get recognized. And it's so important to know how people on our team want to be recognized. It's our job and responsibility to figure out what that all looks like, instead of simply putting people into a cookie cutter mold where they just get recognized because that's the way we do it for everybody on the team. So hopefully this has been helpful and you've gotten something out of this. And your call to action this week is to take a moment to recognize someone in your workplace. Someone with whom you've either been meaning to recognize or someone with whom you just know they've been doing a really, really great job, and you want to express your satisfaction, your graciousness and your kindness toward them, to let them know that you really appreciate everything that you're doing. And if you're so inclined, I'd love for you to drop me an email or post under this video about how you've gone and you have recognized someone on your team or in your workplace for doing some really, really great work, because it's important for you how you show up as well. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining today. I so look forward to hearing from you. Thanks for making time for me today and learning a little bit. And I look forward to seeing you next week. All right. Make it a great week, everybody. I'll see you next Wednesday. Take care. All right. Bye-bye.